LPMR Talk Radio. Stay connected. Tell us what's on your mind. Tweet us at RealityBite121 or email us realitybitesradio@gmail.com. Stay mobile 646-580-6603. Post and join the conversation on our FB page. Search LPMR.207 online radio. Stay connected.
Reality Bites. Reality Bites. Reality Bites.
What's good? My name is Charity Crop. Black Lives Matter is a racist hate group that's primary purpose is to murder the entirety of the American police force and create a new society in which black people are the rulers and the only ones that actually matter. No, that's actually not true at all. And if you believe that any part of that statement is even slightly true, then you do not understand the Black Lives Matter movement at all. And as far as this subject is concerned, you are a dummy. And that's fine. We're all dummies at something, but we're about to change that right now because in the year 2015 alone, 1,134 black men were murdered by the police, making us 9 times more likely to be killed than any other American is. Still yet, there has been no reform of the American police force at all. But that's just the surface. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, black people make up 37% of the prison population, despite only making up 13% of the country. That means we are arrested at 3 times the rate that we should be. Conversely, white people only make up 32% of the prison population, despite making up 63% of the country. That means they are arrested at only half the rate that they should be. And of course, I know what you're thinking.
Well, black people commit more crime. That's why they're in prison more. Just stop doing the crime.
False. Black people are arrested and sentenced more than white people. There's no research to support the claim that we actually commit more crimes. But whatever, what else you got for me?
Well, still, black people kill black people way more than police kill black people. Apparently, black lives don't matter to black people.
Good job. You're actually right about that one. But here's where it gets fun. Let's find out why black people kill each other more. Well, according to the BJS, 64% of all inmates in America do not have a high school diploma. Education and violent crime are so closely linked that State Farm Insurance and the Alliance for Excellent Education's report shows that if male graduation rate was improved by just 5%, that would decrease overall annual incidents of assault by 60,000, larceny by more than 37,000, motor vehicle theft by more than 31,000, and burglaries by more than 17,000. The school-to-prison pipeline is a real thing, people. There is countless evidence to support the fact that the worse schooling you have, the worse you tend to do in our society. Well, now, who has the worst schools? Black people. According to U.S. News and World Report, we have the lowest math and reading scores in every single grade. We are less likely than whites to have an associate degree or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. We are read to less, told a story less, given arts and crafts less. Even the chances of us visiting a library before the age of 5 are severely less. But you know what we're more likely to do? We're more likely to not graduate high school at all, twice as likely to be exact. We're 3 times more likely to be held back than white children, and also black children are 3 times more likely to be suspended or expelled. And yes, I know what you're thinking.
Well, it's not my fault your kids aren't doing well. Maybe you should start teaching them more than just how to twerk and play basketball. Or hey, what about maybe black kids just aren't as smart?
False. Stop it. I need you to try to clear your mind of all your societal conditioning and listen to me. Since the foundation of this country, black people have always been one of, if not the poorest race in the country. Currently, we are the poorest, be it low income, regular poverty, or extreme poverty. We are number 1 in all of those. So you know what that means? That means that because of this generational poverty, black parents may have less access to materials, less time because of job and family obligations. Our moms don't have time to read to us because they're spending all their time at work trying to keep the lights on. And yes, I specifically said moms because another sad thing about black culture is the fact that because America has imprisoned so many black men, a huge percentage of us grow up in single-parent households where the mother has to work twice as hard to provide, which thereby leads to the fact that black children are more likely to live in households that are low income, extremely poor, food insecure, or receiving long-term welfare support. And that causes severe stress, which thereby leads to the fact that black children are also more likely to have emotionally traumatic experiences in childhood, such as abuse or neglect or the death of a parent or witnessing domestic violence, which thereby leads to the fact that according according to the National Council for Drug Abuse, a person in an impoverished situation may abuse drugs or alcohol in order to cope with the dangerous environment she lives in, a way to deal with her financial situations or cope with physical or emotional abuse, which thereby leads to the fact that according to futurity.org, welfare in periods of instability and family structures are risk factors for early sexual activity. This is why little black children are starting to have sex at 11 and 12 in order to get away from the problems in their home life. So by the time they get to school, they do horribly because they got way too much other stuff going on in their head to be worried about Pythagorean theorem. Like, this is it. Poverty leads to bad schooling. Bad schooling leads to high criminal activity. High criminal activity leads to racism. And racism leads to discrimination and black people not being given the same opportunities, which leads right back to poverty. And the cycle starts over. So when we say Black Lives Matter, this is not a war cry. This is us trying to get you to understand that we are in a situation that has layers on top of layers that you probably wouldn't get or understand unless you are a part of the black culture. We barely understand it or know where it started, but given the history of this country, we got a pretty big hunch that it started with racism. So our theory is that if we end racism, then we won't be discriminated against and be given less opportunities, which means that we won't live in poverty, which means that we'll have better schools and do better in them, which means we'll have less criminal activities, which means we'll give other races less of a reason to be racist in the first place. But honestly, we're not even so sure about that last part because sometimes it feels like people just hate us because. And so it feels like sometimes y'all don't think our lives matter. And you're not even trying to understand the situation that we're in or the environment that made us this way. So, to all black people, please do your best to educate those around you. Give love and emotional support to your community. And if you have the financial means, give money to your community so that we can stimulate our own economies. To all other races, specifically white people, we would just like you to really try to learn our circumstances and not just write us off as criminals and thugs. Really try to learn what it is that you could do to help reconstruct this systemic cycle that seems to engineer criminals and thugs. And to all people, I love you.
You've just accessed the Now Experience.
Let's stop talking rhetoric and begin to start talking truth. Reality bites.
Hello, welcome to the Dawn, playground for the new power generation.
Smallbusinessfunds.com. Find the right loan for your business. Need a startup loan of $1,000 to $10,000? Are you an entrepreneur with 6 months in operation looking for capital to launch? Smallbusinessfunds.com. Or an existing business with more than 6 months in need of quick loan in order to apply growth to your business? Smallbusinessfunds.com. SBF also assist established businesses with less than 100 employees. SBF, smallbusinessfunds.com. Visit us at smallbusinessfundz.com. Not too sure which loan's right for you? Call today and schedule a free consultation. There's no cost to apply. 678-791-2312. That's 678-791-2312. Smallbusinessfunds.com. Our courteous and experienced staff will guide you through each step of the loan process. So contact us today. SBF, smallbusinessfunds.com.
Hey, you should be making a living with your music by now. No one is going to listen to your music if you have few to no plays, likes, or followers. Don't stay behind. Promote your music now. Visit the link below for more info.
Reality Bites. Get ready for no holds barred conversation on reality and how it bites. This show is not for the faint of heart. Let's get rid of the rhetoric and non-truths and start talking for real. With topics such as, are you black or are you African American? Police brutality, their fault or ours? Is money really the root to all evil?
LPMR Talk Radio. Stay connected. Tell us what's on your mind. Twitter's at RealityBite121 or email us realitybitesradio@gmail.com. Stay mobile 646-580-6603. Post and join the conversation on our FB page. Search LPMR.207 online radio. Stay connected.
Reality Bites. Reality Bites. Reality Bites.
Do you have music or a company that you want to share with the world? Well, you've just clicked in the right place. Lost Pyramids Music Radio, the spot for indie entrepreneurs. For more info and getting your music or company promoted with our digital online network, contact us at 863-582-5483. And keep tuned in with us on mobileonlineradio.net. Every artist has no limits. For show.
Stay connected.
Welcome to the Dawn.
Shut it down on the ones and twos.
You are currently tuned in to Reality Bites Talk Radio.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Drop that.
It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a strong rhyme to step to. Think of how many weeks shows just slept through. Time's up. I'm sorry I kept you.
Reality Bites.
Human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? We make it out alive. Alright.
So what's the deal, everybody? First, I'd like to thank everyone from around the world to around the corner for stopping on in and hanging out here with us on Reality Bites. My name is Danilo Ignacio. And, of course, we've got a lot to talk about. From Ben Carson, Donald Trump lying on President Obama, and now trending online, new footage has erupted about the Michael Brown case. You know, this is a very significant case for some of us because this was like the straw that broke the camel's back and reverberated through America for many, many people. That's why all the anarchy started, and we started doing civil disobedience in the street. And part of the reason why we're conscious now in 2017, because back then, there's something that we all know systemically happens inside of the police department is they lie. They have the blue wall of silence, and they just tell untruths to make themselves look better in situations and to get themselves out of situations when they have done wrong against what they know to be the rules and regulations and the laws that they're supposed to be following. So now there's a filmmaker that came up with some new footage, and it just premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival called Strange Fruit, Jason Pollock. And it shows evident that the police department and Darren Wilson conjured up a story and lied. And I think this was one of the things that people didn't understand, and white people in general, and a lot of black people that said, well, he went into the store and he did take something, where the matter of fact is, even if he did steal something, he shouldn't be dead for it. And by the hands of a white police officer that supposedly is protecting and serving. So they come in and they foster a story because they saw the footage that we're talking about right now, which was approximately 10 or 11 hours earlier, that would have given you the story of why he came back the next day and the occurrence happened, and him and the attendant at that time ended up getting into something and him leaving in a burst of energy, so to speak. They fostered a story to make it look like he stole something, even though that still didn't have occurrence to what happened when he fell upon Darren Wilson. Start fostering and making us look bad. And this is something that we all know. Anyone that lives in the urban community know that they lie. And to believe that these men, especially the white ones in particular, foster up stories because they don't like us just because we're black, first and foremost. And they are then to be believed in the system as holier than thou, and what they say is right is where this system continues to go wrong and where we continue to die in this system. So now this has come out to show that the story is not real. We have to open up our eyes and look at what the next steps are going to be, because it premiered, like I said, at the South and Southwest, and now it's a firestorm online. So somebody got to answer some questions at some point. So keep your eyes open and look. And don't take the information that the American broadcast system gives you as holier than thou, because it's all part of the same system. The police work with the media companies that come out to tell the stories. I've seen it. We've been right here in Harlem and something happens, and when the news lady in the van comes out, she speaks to the police officer, not in the hello, how do you way. It's more, hey, what's up? They know each other. So these stories get fostered, and then they get shared, and then the truth gets suppressed. And then we get these quick judgments, and then police go free. So in the video, dated 9 August 2014 at 1:15 a.m., the teenager, Michael Brown, can be seen handing over the counter a small bag, which the store employees then passed around and smelled before a member of the staff gave Mike Brown 2 boxes of cigarillos. As Mike was walking out, he decided to return to the counter, and he handed the clerk the bag with the cigarillos, and it was put behind the counter. That was the new footage that was shown, which was approximately 10 to 11 hours earlier, which the police did see. The footage that we saw was when he returned to the store 10 hours later. Then he was seen standing behind the counter with his arms behind his back. He then reached over the counter and grabbed a box of cigarillos, and he left. He pushed a member of the staff out of his way. See, that was the occurrence that they said now he came in and robbed, when it was the same box of cigarillos that was in there last night. Go look at the footage. You'll see it. It's very clear what it was. So what could have happened, as we all know, because when we live in these communities with these people, like they even earmarked in the footage, the Sundance footage that they have out now, is that there's a certain form of life living in urban neighborhoods. There's trade goods for goods, services for services. So what you saw was him trading approximately, they say, a $20 bag of weed for the cigarillo boxes. So those are the same cigarillo boxes that he came to pick up the next day, the same cigarillo that they now said that he tried to steal. Again, this is a natural occurrence that goes on. For this system to have to change, there needs to be some independent, real review boards of the people of the neighborhood that hold police accountable to what they do. Because, see, that's where the lie begins. And then the media takes hold of it and gives it a general eye view and forget the particulars that really makes the story what it really is. And that's how come we continue to die in the streets of America. And when we talk about our politicians, I'm going to ask y'all a question. Who protects them when they're out in the street? Who gives them their motorcade? Who's at their house when they're leaving in the morning? The same people are part of the same system that we're talking about that does injustice. So they're in a particular situation, so they pretend like they don't see it, because we keep stonewalling on the real information and conversations that should be going on in America about why black people are dying by the hands of the judicial system. It's not just the white police officers, it's the system. So we want to hear your viewpoints. Let us know what you think. Because again, this particular case, I still remember I was traveling back from Atlanta, moving back to New York, and you saw it in the streets of America that people were tired. So now for us to get this information kind of earmarks the reason why we were tired, and continue to earmark what we talk about and what they forget to add in conversations when they're not holding the police officers accountable for what they're doing. Yes, there are good cops, but there are more lies than there are good cops. And that's why black people continue to die on the streets. Because it's always their word against ours, and they're always vindicated. Even when we know they lie. How many countless videos have we not seen, and yet still they continue to get vindicated because the court system works with the judicial system, which works with the government, and those are the people they're protecting. Reality bites.
Stay connected. Tell us what's on your mind. Twitter's at RealityBite121 or email us realitybitesradio@gmail.com. Stay mobile 646-580-6603. Post and join the conversation on our FB page. Search LPMR.207 online radio. Stay connected.
So off the news feed we're just receiving, Jason Pollock did an interview with a CNN host, and here is his response to where the footage came from. Listen in.
Jason Pollock, where did this come from? Where did this video come from? How did you obtain it?
I obtained this video by deciding to move to Ferguson, work with the family, and do real investigative journalism for the last 2 years. And that's how the truth comes out. When you do real work and you focus on one story and you dig into it. We originally found the paperwork in the St. Louis County Police report, which shows that they saw a video at 1:13 a.m. of Michael Brown walking into the convenience store. And that tipped us off that this happened. They admit that it happened in their own report, and the document which we found proves it. So them saying that they don't know what they're talking about is ridiculous, because they either don't read the report or they're not telling us the truth. Based on everything that's happened, it seems like they're probably not telling us the truth. So we found the document, and then we were able to acquire the video. And the video is at the same exact time as their own document. So to prove that the video is real, they proved it for us. Their document says that Michael Brown walked into the store on August 9th at 1:13 a.m. The video that we've acquired, at the top of the video, you can see the time code, and it clearly says the exact same time and date. So the video is pretty much corroborated by the St. Louis County Police report. Thank you, St. Louis County. I'm not exactly sure why they don't understand what's happening with it, but I think that they're pretty much just pointing fingers at each other right now because they've been outed. And what this video shows is that they lied to the world about what happened. They wanted to make Mike look bad, so they put out half a video to destroy his character in his death.
Destroy his character in his death while lying to the world and saving a brother police officer. That's what we're dealing with in America. Another very poignant thing that he said in his interview is, you see how real investigative work is done when media is working in the right format. And that's part of the reason why me, Danilo Ignacio, and everyone else here utilize this platform to make people understand that we have to have our own form of communication to the world. Because information like this, if we were central and we had somewhere to distribute our own information, we could have been down in Ferguson finding out all these things, not taking anything away from Jason Pollock, but finding out all these things because we keep the pressure on. One of the problems in America with our black and brown people is when the TV stops talking about it, we stop living it. And we've got to stop that. We've got to wake ourselves up and use this incident, and it's going to keep rolling out to show people what really goes on in the police force.
Reality bites. Yo, this your boy Lifo. Keep tuned in. We got more to come after this commercial break.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
I don't know about you, but dodging chaos and jumping through hoops isn't how I want to spend time booking my flights. I get enough of that. That's why I use CheapoAir.com. They do all the work for you, so its best airfares are automatically returned in just seconds. And that means you can book with confidence. Cheapo Air saves you time, and you can find amazing rates, guaranteed. Seriously, Cheapo Air is the smart choice. Book today to save up to $20. Cheapo Air, travel the world for less.
Now, let's take this opportunity to book your next business or vacation getaway with Cheapo Air. For quick and easy access, simply scroll down our webpage at mobileonlineradio.net and click on the banner ad to get started today.
Hey, you should be making a living with your music by now. No one is going to listen to your music if you have few to no plays, likes, or followers. Don't stay behind. Promote your music now. Visit the link below for more info.
Do you have music or a company that you want to share with the world? Well, you just clicked in the right place. Lost Pyramids Music Radio, the spot for indie entrepreneurs. For more info and getting your music or company promoted with our digital online network, contact us at 863-582-5483. And keep tuned in with us on mobileonlineradio.net. Every artist has no limits. For sure.
Stay connected.
Welcome to the
Dawn. Shut it down on the ones and twos.
You are currently tuned into the feed right here on Reality Bites Radio. Stay in the know on what's buzzing online. It's now 26 minutes in, and burning down the feed is Dr. Ben Carson, the newly crowned HUD secretary. He didn't even make a good week yet before he really showed us who he's going to be and who he really is. So, Roland Martin from News One Now sat down with Mr. Carson after he made his such inflammatory comments on not knowing the difference between immigrants and slaves. Sometimes you can be so smart and so stupid all at the same time. Brain surgeon, huh, sir?
Newly confirmed HUD Secretary Dr. Ben Carson made a crazy statement on his first day on the job. The only black member of President Trump's cabinet actually compared slaves to immigrants during a speech to employees at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Listen.
That's what America is about. A land of dreams and opportunity. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer, even harder for less. But they too had a dream that one day their sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandsons, great-granddaughters might pursue prosperity and happiness in this land.
Dr. Carson going deep. Then he went on Armstrong Williams' Sirius XM radio show. Of course, Armstrong is his business manager, to further explain his comments. Listen.
Well, I said to people, think about how our strength is our unity in this country, and that there are things that we have in common. And I said, go to Ellis Island and look at all of those pictures on the wall of immigrants who came here from every part of the world, many of them carrying all their earthly belongings in their two hands, not knowing what to expect. And what a hard life they had, but they didn't do it for themselves. They did it for their children and their grandchildren. And then I said there were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, who worked even harder, even longer, but they too had a dream. that one day their great-grandchildren might live in freedom and prosperity in this country.
And when you use the term immigrant, what you're saying is that anybody who's come from a foreign place is an immigrant, and that's what America. Yes, and they were coming from.
Everybody in that auditorium was with me. They knew exactly what I was saying. It's only those people who were always trying to stir up controversy. Did they talk about the good things? Did they talk about the prolonged standing ovation, all the people waiting in line to get pictures, the people who asked very intelligent questions and got good answers for them, the lady who stood up and said, some of us were concerned, we're not concerned about you anymore? No, they don't cover that. They say, he said that slaves were immigrants, and that's a terrible thing to say, and he's out of contact with reality. He's crazy. It's really kind of sad what the media has degenerated into.
That wasn't us. Carson had to issue another explanation, posting this on his personal Facebook page. I'm proud of the courage and perseverance of Black Americans and their incomprehensible struggle from slavery to freedom. I'm proud that our ancestors overcame the evil and repression that we know as slavery. The slave narrative and immigrant narrative are two entirely different experiences. Slaves were ripped from their families and their homes and forced against their will after being sold into slavery by slave traders. The immigrants made the choice to come to America. They saw this country as a land of opportunity. In contrast, slaves were forced here against their will and lost all their opportunities. We continue to live with that legacy. The two experiences should never be intertwined nor forgotten as we demand the necessary progress towards an America that's inclusive and provides access to equal opportunity for all. We should revel in the fact that although we got here through different routes, we have many things in common. Now that should unite us in our mission to have a land where there is liberty and justice for all. Okay, folks, let me sort of explain something to y'all, okay, why this actually matters, okay? The fact of the matter is, it's just dead wrong. You would think that Betsy DeVos, the education secretary, was Ben Carson's teacher in school because she also was clueless when it came to HBCUs on the issue of school choice. This thing is even bigger than Dr. Ben Carson. Why? Because Republicans and conservatives all across this country, okay, not all of them, pray for Rena, not all of them, but the reality is this here. They consistently want to rewrite history. In Texas, Tea Party group in Tennessee demands textbooks overlook U.S. founders' slave-owning history. Folks, do y'all understand what I'm saying? See, what you have here is this whole notion of recreating this idea of what slavery actually is. How Texas is whitewashing Civil War history. Same thing. They in the textbooks there in Texas. They tried to actually change the textbooks to rewrite the history. Why is this important? Because they tried to make the argument that somehow, guess what? Slaves were workers. Mm-hmm. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Workers. Now, even in his initial comment, Carson said that, slaves worked harder and a lot less. No, not a lot less than immigrants, for nothing. That's history. The company that actually put that in the Texas textbooks apologized, saying we made a mistake calling slaves workers. Yeah, you made a mistake, McGraw-Hill, because they were not workers. They were slaves. Slaves built this nation for free. And I'm sick and tired of Republicans and their conservative friends trying to somehow rewrite the history books. It is what it is. Slaves are not immigrants. Slaves did not want to come here. Slaves wanted to be back home with their families, where they were born, where they were raised. And so, look, Secretary Ben Carson, here's what I propose. I propose me, you, and DeVos go to Howard University and go to their auditorium and actually have a discussion on the legacy of slavery in America. Because you know what? It impacts your job in HUD, because the reasons that we have right now, the housing inequities in America, is because of slavery. Because after slavery, we didn't get to have housing. There wasn't 40 acres in a muse. Because of HUD and the Federal Housing Administration, where the redlining was created, where black folks weren't even not even allowed to to live in public housing. Oh, Betsy DeVos, you're in education. We can talk about that as well when it comes to Plessy versus Ferguson, Dred Scott, Brown versus Board of Education, separate but unequal. We're still facing that. And so I would appreciate if Republicans, if you please stop trying to make it wonderful and nice and it's all cute when it comes to slavery. It has nothing to do with immigrants. Carson, you were dead wrong. What was in your statement? Articulate it. Say it publicly so people understand that a neurosurgeon actually has some sense when it comes to American history. I would appreciate it.
Reality Bites Radio. That's right, Roland Martin. Tell it like it T.I. is. Tune in to more Roland Martin on News One Now. You are currently tuned into the feed right here on Reality Bites Radio. Stay connected and join the conversation at any time, or tell us what's on your mind. Tweet us at RealityBites121 or email us realitybitesradio@gmail.com. Or stay mobile, 646-580-6603. And also post and join the conversation on our FB page. Search LPMR.207 Online Radio. From around the world to around the corner, welcome once again to Reality Bites Radio. My name is Danilo Ignacio.
Yo, this your boy Lifo. Keep tuned in. We got more to come after this commercial break.
Reality Bites Radio. Get ready for no holds barred conversation on reality and how it bites. This show is not for the faint of heart. Let's get rid of the rhetoric and non-truths and start talking for real with topics such as, are you black or are you African American? Police brutality, their fault or ours? Is money really the root to all evil?
Welcome to the Dawn. You've just accessed the Now experience.
Let's stop talking rhetoric and begin to start talking truth. Reality Bites Radio.
Hey, what up? It's your boy Infamous.
And I'm that man, Jimmy B.
And we are them KMF boys. Coming to you straight out of Pittsburgh.
Here to bring you the exclusive preview on the things we do
and the life we live.
You are now listening to Lost Pyramid Radio.
Stay connected.
Where music shine. Radio.
Whether you're an independent artist looking for airplay or an activist looking for a platform to speak to the world, LPMR Radio. Contact us today, 863-582-5483.
Hey, you should be making a living with your music by now. No one is going to listen to your music if you have few to no plays, likes, or followers. Don't stay behind. Promote your music now. Visit the link below for more info.
My weapon of choice, the turntables.
Welcome.
Shut down in process.
LPMR Speaks. Talks Radio. Real time.
We are controlling transmission.
Get ready for no holds barred conversation on reality and how it bites. This show is not for the faint of hearts. Let's get rid of the rhetoric and non-truths and start talking for real. With topics such as, you black or are you African American? Police brutality, their fault or ours? Is money really the root of all evil? So join Danilo Ignacio and Hugh Green every Sunday at 10 p.m. live for Reality Bites right here on LPMR.207. Go to mobileonlineradio.net and tune in now. LPMR Speaks Talk Radio.
You are currently tuned in to Reality Bites Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to the Dawn, playground for the new power generation.
I worked my whole life for this one. Another one.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those that are just joining us, welcome to the feed right here on Reality Bites Radio. My name is Danilo Ignacio, and I see that we're almost 40 minutes in and a year later to Flint, Michigan. Another one of America's horrible mishaps when it comes to our black people living in America. It is now a year later, and the water still not right. And to add insult to injury, they now want them to pay for the water. I mean, it just gets more disgusting every single day. We're going to take this to RT, and they're going to give you the wrap-up on 1 year later, Flint, Michigan. RT, ready to go.
Yes, the Flint water crisis in Michigan is still ongoing, despite the fact it's getting little to no attention. You likely remember that story. 3 years ago, the city switched its water supply to cut back on cost. As a result, children suffered from lead poisoning and some have died from Legionnaire's disease. The story scandalized the nation nearly 1 whole year ago, but today, the water is still contaminated, and only a few officials have been held responsible for the fatal outcome. Here's RT correspondent Ashley Banks with more.
Flint, Michigan's water crisis is still ongoing, and according to media reports, efforts to aid Flint residents are shrinking. Earlier this month, the state of Michigan announced Flint residents will have to cover the full cost of water in their homes. Residents living in Flint are mainly living off of low yearly incomes and are minorities who will not be able to incur this cost. Now, the state originally promised it would continue paying the water bills through March 31st. However, the authorities stopped short of that, only paying residents' bills until the end of February. Now, state officials say they made the change because they tested the water, and according to them, it meets federal regulations. Now, Flint's Mayor Karen Weaver said city residents were caught off guard by this announcement, adding this is a trust issue. That's what this is. State officials say one thing and then do another. She also said that more corrosion studies are needed, and Flint needs at least 2 years to begin supplying its own water. Now, the water crisis began 3 years ago when the city switched to a new water source in order to save money. Shortly after that, several children were tested positive for elevated blood lead levels, and 12 people died from a Legionnaire's disease outbreak. Now, experts say this is the cause of neglect that resulted in the water not being properly treated. Corrine Miller, who was State Director of Disease Control, was charged for neglecting to fulfill her duties. She pleaded no contest last year. She has been sentenced to a year's probation, 300 hours of community service, and has to apologize to Flint residents. Now, a total of 13 current and former government officials have been charged in connection to the water crisis, 2 of which were appointed by Governor Rick Snyder. To date, Governor Snyder has yet to be charged, and according to media reports, he is confident he will not be. But no matter how many officials will be charged, the water problem in Flint remains unresolved, affecting low-income residents the most. In Washington, Ashley Banks, RT.
Reality Bites Radio. Thank you, Ashley Banks, from Russia Today. From Flint, Michigan till now, a conversation on the feed that I think you should enjoy and listen to. Many people, many black people, still pretend that racism does not exist, and it does. And everyone's talking about it. We're going to get involved in a panel discussion with Roland Martin, Angela Rye, Principal and CEO of Impact Strategist, George Carr, PhD, and the Chairman of African American Studies, Howard University, Cleo Manigault, PhD, Behavioral and Cultural Analyst, and Christopher Menzer, PhD, Political Strategist. The conversation is in regard to the way that we see now many, many white people feel that I guess we've taken from the system, or we've gotten more from the system, when it's just utterly ridiculous. White privilege, even for those white people that are not to consider themselves racist, it still works in your favor, and you all must own up to it. So here we go. Roland Martin, News One now.
All right, y'all. Since the election, political pundits have blamed Democrats for ignoring white working-class Americans who came out in droves to vote for Donald Trump. But the Huffington Post recently did a survey which found that Trump supporters were more motivated by something else. The website found that Trump supporters believe that black folks are less deserving than average Americans. In fact, when you hear the phrase average Americans, they don't even include us. That viewpoint was the main dividing line between Clinton and Trump supporters. In fact, if you look at respondents were asked if they agreed with the statement that average Americans have gotten less than they deserve. More than half of Trump and Clinton voters agreed. Yes. Well, but when respondents were asked if blacks have gotten less than they deserve over the past few years, 57% of Clinton folks said yes. Just 12% of Trump voters said yes. 62% of black folks said yes. Overall, 28% of white said yes. Now, I also want to throw this out there, because when you talk about this whole issue of who's a real American, when you hear that phrase, are you included in that? Not only that, when you hear this discussion of the working class in America, why is that somehow excluding black folks who work and Latinos who work? In fact, people of color are actually, if you look at the various stats, the hardest working people in the country. Let's talk about it. John Hope Bryant, Angela Rye, Greg Carr, Chris Metzler, Cleo Monago. See, this was interesting to me because, look, I'm in the words business, and I tell people you have to listen. During Donald Trump's, a lot of his rallies, he would talk about, we are going to put America back to work, and we're going to help the African Americans and the Latinos. And I told people, listen to phrases. Mm-hmm. What he was saying is, I'm going to help y'all, and we're going to do something about them. That's really what this poll speaks to. And I think a lot of people just don't understand there's this otherness, if you will. I'm going to use Newt Gingrich's phrase for President Obama when he got elected. There's this otherness about him. We are seen as this otherness.
Roland, that's why what you've been doing by putting Reverend Barber out front with this fusion agenda is very important. It is never, non-whites have never been real Americans. And then you see the Democrats getting ready to quadruple down on this silly fantasy that they can pursue these somehow missing white voters. It's a reinforcement of whiteness. They're playing into the hands of racism.
Even the term non-whites is a reinforcement of whiteness.
Of course.
We saying we are non.
No, of course.
And how we think and how it impacts how we behave and how we see things. And we're involved in this thinking, which is why we haven't resisted enough to become so-called real Americans, whatever the heck that is.
I don't know we ever can.
Well, in some respects, though, we also perpetuate that myth. When we talk about affirmative action, for example, as much as I've worked in this industry, I have never heard someone say to me, bring me employees, white employees who are qualified. Yet what we say is we're going to hire African Americans and other minorities who are qualified.
Well, actually, that's not we. I mean, in fact, that's what was been driven. What happens, because I've actually done panels where I would stop. I say, hold up, don't use a qualified, because when you talk about white folks, you don't use the qualified.
That's right.
So it's adopting sort of that language. And again, and I've had to tell black people who are in HR, listen to what you're saying. You are reinforcing another narrative.
Well, but that is exactly my point. So when I say we, the people who are in diversity work, the people who are in HR work, we are taking that language and adopting it, because in a lot of respects what we're saying is we don't want to lower the standards. I think we have to be conscious of that as well.
I think a couple things. One is I think that we don't do that. I think that that's an overgeneralization, and there are probably some on the fringe that do that. But I know certainly the diversity work that I've done, I never say that. And in fact, I challenge it the same way that Roland does. I want to get back to this poll, though, because I think it's important when we look at exit polling data from this election. It says very clearly that Hillary Clinton won voters on the economy. Where she did not win is on fighting terrorism, which is code for Muslims and supporting a Muslim ban. Where she did not win is on supporting immigration, which we know is code for being anti-Mexican or anti-brown. People don't know for some reason that black people and white people also immigrate here. I think that we have to then understand that that is, again, a racial issue. She did not win on issues of race. Donald Trump won an other and us versus them campaign. He ran it and he won it. And I think that we have to be honest now in saying we hear Trump voters all the time talking about identity politics. Stop using identity politics. Well, white identity politics is what galvanized and went out to vote. The Get Out the Vote effort was on white identity politics.
John, Tom Barrow has a book called Brainwash, and he talked about, in that book, he talked about really this history in America of how how folks have been brainwashed. And in this country, I don't care where you go, if you throw out poverty, and polling that will show it, instantly they'll think, oh, I'm talking about black people.
That's right.
Okay. I've challenged people to say, I'm like, look, numbers don't lie. When LBJ launched the war on poverty, he didn't go to the Delta.
Right.
He went to the no-teeth folks in West Virginia. No. I'm saying I'm saying no teeth because they didn't have dental, they didn't have health care. Right. And then when you hear folks say, well, you vote Democrat, oh my God, poor folks, this Charles Barkley quote, poor folks have been voting Democrat for 50 years, they're still poor. Some of the brokest states in America are red states,
including his home state, Alabama.
A third of every federal dollar in Mississippi. The state that says they reject federal policy, they don't want federal help, is a federal dollar, as an example. The poorest state in America. Look, we're rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic in many ways because we're talking about black and brown and white, whatever. The real issue is green. Whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, what everybody want to see is some more green. And there's no real progressive strategic agenda around changing that reality. The reality is there's more poor whites in America, which is your point, than poor anybody else, but no one raises that point. But a 500 credit score neighborhood looks the same, whether you're white rural or black urban. You have a check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a title lender, next to a liquor store, all feeding on poverty, financial illiteracy, low tax base, and depression. And that's whether you're white rural or urban or outside of a military base. That drives all of this hate and depression that somebody is running for office and feeding on. And I want to change that.
But when you hear the poll where there's this belief that, they're getting more stuff.
It's economic, Roland. No. This happened in 1935 with Hitler. He was jailed in 1925 as a crackpot. And then they saluted him in 1939. The only thing that changed was that Germany's economy fell apart. And so they started looking for somebody else to blame. This has been, whenever you have racial strife, you have economic strife 10 years before it. This is as old as the history itself, and I'm suggesting we're being punked.
And Chris, we saw this in California when they passed the amendment targeting illegal immigrants. That was because the California economy tanked largely due to the closure of military bases.
Correct.
But it was, we got to blame somebody.
Yeah. And
this is economic.
This is economic. I absolutely agree with you. It is the racialized piece first, and then you get into the economic catastrophes. And I think this election conversation, a lot of it has to do with economics.
So let me. If you look at things based on facts and formulas, it does get down to finances. When you look at things in terms of the hunger for power and the hunger to retain white supremacy, all that stuff goes out of the water.
With all due respect,
white folks are willing to be...
Let's stop there. White supremacy. Let's stop there.
No. Finish your point.
I don't want to stop.
I'm going to go to John. Finish your point.
The whole issue around black people deserving is a code for dehumanizing us compared to white folks, no matter what goes on. Mm-hmm. And we have to understand that the reason why we keep on losing compared to other people as a collective, we have individuals who get some stuff, but as a collective people compared to Asians, whites, everybody else, we keep on being on the back end of the stick because we won't take a look at what's going on here in this society in terms of how white supremacy influences our own thinking.
I'm about to say something that's going to anger everybody, which is fine. I'm 74% Cameroon, African. Then I'm 26% European. The rest is Asian, Indian, and other. We're all mixed race. So if I hate white folks, I hate myself. If you want to make the Grand Master of Ku Klux Klan have a heart attack, give him a DNA test because he's part black. Stop. So that's a separate issue.
I got it.
That's a separate issue.
Hold up.
So to say the white supremacist middle class person who lives somewhere in Atlanta who voted for DT, I'm gonna call his name. They weren't white supremacists. They lost their job in 2009, making $100,000 a year. They're decent, God-loving people. They didn't get the job for 2 years. And when they got rehired, they make $50,000 a year, half their pay. They're pissed off. They're frustrated. Then they look at TV and they say, "I don't recognize this country. I can't get a job. No one's batting for me." And let me finish my sentence.
One second.
And that person gets pimped by somebody who's running on a fear agenda saying somebody else is your problem. Right. And I think by us feeding into this narrative that all white people are the devil just pits them against us.
Nobody said that. Why did you say that? Wait.
I apologize.
It's green, right?
I agree completely.
I agree completely. But you know better than anybody here. Finance is international.
Yes, sir.
White supremacy is global. When you see these alliances between the far-right parties in France and in Germany and other places and Donald Trump, what you're seeing is people are being fooled domestically, but money knows no national border. Meaning what? Domestically, they use race, they use these things, but finance capital is going to make a whole lot of money. And with all due respect, acting like we can somehow get in that game and win it, we're the reason they have the money in the first place, brother.
No, we can win this game. We can win this game.
Let me say this.
We can win this.
Let me say this. we built this country for free.
Amen.
We've never been paid for that.
That's right.
And the fact, to get back to the point, which is whether or not we are deserving, the fact that people don't see that we are deserving when we were never paid for what we've done has all types of racial animus and oppression tied to it. If we continue to ignore the fact that people find targets who are other, who are black, who are brown, who are Asian, who are different from what they deem as real American, when we all know that real American looked nothing like the white pilgrim that came. Like let's just be really clear.
That's right.
So I'm not saying that this is about people who were punked or bamboozled or anything. I'm saying the reality of that. The reason why they were able to succumb to that is because they needed someone to blame, and that is about a white superiority complex. That does not mean that economics is not at the root of it, but I'm saying let's not pretend that racism isn't front and center.
Reality Bites.
Welcome to the Dawn. You've just accessed the Now experience.
Let's stop talking rhetoric and begin to start talking truth. Reality Bites.
Thank you for joining us here on LPMR Reality Bites Talk Radio. Stay tuned in for more with Danilo Ignacio after this commercial break.
Have you ever heard of True Laundry Detergent? Well, here's your opportunity. True Laundry Detergent is offering free shipping in selected areas just by texting the word TRUE to 404-493-0523 or give them a call. True Laundry Detergent is 4 times concentrated and perfect for high-efficiency washers. Just 1 ounce removes dirt and brightens fabrics, leaving each load with a clean, fresh scent. Best of all, True Laundry Detergent contains no animal products and no harsh chemicals, making it safe for sensitive skin. Follow True Laundry Detergent today. Search on social media platforms True Laundry Detergent or text the word TRUE to 404-493-0523. And when calling, be sure to ask about their free delivery. True Laundry Detergent.
Whether you're an independent artist looking for airplay or an activist looking for a platform to speak to the world, LPMR Radio. Contact us today, 863-582-5483. LPMR Talk Radio.
From around the world to around the corner, you are tuned into Reality Bites Radio right here on LPMR. Once again, everyone here definitely express a great gratitude in our first premiere show after almost 2 months of not being on the air, coming back and having almost close to 5,000 listeners, and a great majority of them came from America. Almost 49.8% of them came from America. A great next majority came from Canada. We thank you, and everybody in between, we thank you as well. They tell us that we just want to be numbed and entertained and turned into pop culture freaks. That's not what we believe. We believe that we're conscious and we can have conscious information that people will enjoy listening to because it helps them to understand not only what's going on, but the things that are going on in their head. That's why we do what we do. We're 57 minutes into Reality Bites Radio news feed, and coming up next week, Sunday, we'll have more people joining the Reality Bites platform. We'll have a gentleman that will have his own show called Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr. We'll also have a gentleman by the name of Link Green, and he'll be bringing to you a segment on PTSD because of the oppression and suppression in America. Have mental issues, and we need to start talking about them. We need to start bringing it out into the world so we can fix our mental issues to make ourselves better for the future of black people in America. So thank you again. Stay tuned. We have a lot more coming up right here on Reality Bites Radio. Grand Rising, power to the black people. Reality Bites. Get ready for no holds barred conversation on reality and how it bites. This show is not for the faint of heart. Let's get rid of the rhetoric and non-truths and start talking for real. With topics such as, are you black or are you African American? Police brutality, their fault or ours? Is money really the root to all evil?
LPMR Talk Radio. Stay connected. Tell us what's on your mind. Twitter's at RealityBite121 or email us realitybitesradio@gmail.com. Stay mobile 646-580-6603. Post and join the conversation on our FB page. Search LPMR.207 online radio. Stay connected.
Reality Bites. Reality Bites. Reality Bites. Reality Bites Global Calendar Watch. For immediate listing, contact us at 1-646-580-6603. Stay connected. Get your county, city, state, or country's events listed today. Stay in the know. Send your event flyers or general information to realitybitesradio@gmail.com. The more time you give, the more time you'll get. Stay in the know. Reality Bites Global Calendar Watch.